You're watching NHK Newsline, I'm Kanako Sakno. It's less than a week before the Pyeongchang Olympic Games. Athletes from around the world have started to arrive, including a team from North Korea. Now there are reports the country will send another delegation to the south, and with it will be one of the highest-ranking officials. South Korea's Unification Ministry says Kim Yong-nam will reportedly lead the group on a three-day visit beginning on Friday, the day of the opening ceremonies. The 90-year-old Kim is the North's ceremonial head of state and a former foreign minister. He'll be the highest-ranking official to visit the country since South Korean President Moon Jae-in took office in 2017. There's no word yet on whether he will meet Moon during his visit. The president of the International Olympic Committee says there have been some challenges organising the Winter Olympics.
When the political tensions were at the highest level, and when some people expressed even security concerns for the athletes, put the organization of the games itself at question, and where we had to be very active on the political level in different countries.
Despite the difficulties, Thomas Bach welcomed the decision by the two Koreas to march together at the opening ceremony. The Winter Olympics will be the largest ever. 92 countries and territories will take part, along with 3,000 athletes. The joint North and South Korean women's ice hockey team had their first and only friendly match before the start of the Games. 4 North Koreans were among the players on the unified Korean women's ice hockey team that faced Sweden on Sunday. Before the game, the traditional Korean song Arirang was played, and a unification flag featuring the Korean peninsula was raised along with the Swedish flag. Nearly all of the 3,000 seats were filled. The Swedes defeated the unified Korean team 3-1.
I believe this game was a good opportunity to showcase the unified power of the North and South Korean players.
The North Korean players learned quickly. They've been great to work with. They work really hard. I think tonight's game was a great effort from our team.
The unified Korean team will play its first match of the Games against Switzerland on February 10th. Getting a seat for that game will be a challenge. Ticket sales for the Winter Olympics have been slower than expected, but not for the joint women's ice hockey games. Tickets for all of its 3 preliminary round matches have sold out. If you're looking for a ticket, you'll have to try your luck with same-day tickets or buy online, but it won't come cheap. Tickets for Saturday's game are selling on the internet for $110, twice their face value. South Korean media say illegal sales are rampant, giving rise to security concerns. North Korea will likely send a cargo ship to the south to host members of its performance troupe during the Games. Let's bring in Aiko Doden now with our Eye on Asia team for more. Aiko, what do we know about the ship?
Well, the ship will serve as the official lodgings for about 140 members. Seoul had banned all North Korean ships from entering its ports. But it's seeking an exemption in this case. All of this comes just days before the Games begin. And NHK World's Takaya Kawasaki is at Gangneung, which will host skating events. Takaya, what's the latest?
Hi, it's a brutally -8 degrees here. This is supposed to be the coldest winter game in years, and it is living up to that. I'm in front of Gangneung train station. Behind me, you can see one of the official mascots of the Olympics. The white tiger named Suhoram. Suho is the Korean word for protection. It's a fitting word for these Olympics and for this city. Gangneung was the site of a fierce battle during the Korean War in the 1950s. It's located about 80 kilometers from the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas. And that has kept more than 7 million family members apart. The unions of the families actively began after the Inter-Korean Summit in 2000. So far, about 130,000 people in the South have applied to meet their family members in the North. But only about 2% are believed to have been reunited, and they are aging. Half of the applicants have already died. Reunion stopped in 2015. Inter-Korean relations have worsened because of the North's repeated provocations. The Olympics raising hopes that might change. I met a member of one of the separated families who's hoping they will start up again.
저희 아버님 사진.
Che Sun-min's father was abducted to North Korea 68 years ago during the Korean War. Che was only 3 years old at the time. He hasn't seen him since.
아버님이 어디 놀러 가시면은
I've been told that my father took me everywhere.
데리고 가고 기업을 많이 받았어요.
He really loved me.
다른 얘기를 들었습니다.
Che is now 70 years old. 3 years ago, he registered as a member of families separated by the Korean War. But there haven't been any reunions of divided families since 2015. Since then, relations between the two countries have soured because of the North's missile and nuclear development programs. Che thinks the North's participation in the Games is a good opportunity to improve ties.
Cultural and sports exchanges between the North and South will be held. I hope that paves the way for reunions of divided families.
Che works part-time as a fire ranger near one of the Olympic venues. The arena will host ice hockey, which the joint Korea women's team will compete in.
I hope the joint women's hockey team does well. I hope this Olympics contributes to world peace.
Che is also volunteering to direct traffic during the Games.
I hope that the Games lead to reunions of divided families. I want to give visitors a warm welcome.
Well, it's a heartbreaking story. Now, what are the two sides saying about it?
When officials from the two Koreas met last month, the South brought up the possibility of resuming the reunions. But the two sides failed to reach an agreement. South Korean President Moon Jae-in said he is open to holding more talks, and there is hope that could lead to their resumption.
But Takaya, let me switch now
to... The North Korean athletes have been preparing for the Games.
Okay. Now, Takaya, let me switch now to North Korea.
The North Korean athletes have been preparing for the Games.
Let me now switch to North Korea's delegation. Now, they arrived last week in the south. Now, what have they been up to?
South Korean athletes have been preparing for the Games since they arrived. But it's not just the Olympians getting ready. A joint cheering squad was formed with the South. And North Korea's orchestra is preparing for their public performance in this city later this week. This is a lot of interest in the group. There are reports that nearly 40,000 people have applied for the tickets.
Well, Takaya says the North Korean athletes have been preparing for the Games since they arrived. Thank you, Takaya. That was NHK World's Takaya Kawasaki reporting from Gangneung. We're staying with North Korea. The head of the German intelligence agency says the country has been using its embassy in Berlin to procure parts for its nuclear and missile programs. The agency's head made the remarks in an interview with German public broadcaster ARD.
We can't guarantee that we can detect and prevent this in all cases.
He presumes some of the parts were acquired on the black market and says German authorities were able to prevent some of these activities when they found out. The UN Security Council recently warned North Korean embassy workers are using their positions to export weapons. The country has been aggressively pursuing its nuclear and missile programs despite repeated sanctions.